Alrighty. So thank you for joining me for this practice today. For today's practice, I wanted to sort of talk about connection, but I think what we'll do is we'll start in a reclined pose. So you can either come right down into Shavasana, or maybe you'd like to come into Supta Baddha Konasana with the soles of your feet together, your legs out to the side. Maybe you'd like your knees bent, just letting the soles of your feet on the ground, your knees come together. Anything that's comfortable for you, where you feel like you can close your eyes and start to relax. So I'll give you a minute here to get settled. Start to notice your breath. Today's practice, we're going to focus on connection. So whether that's connection with ourselves, with others, or maybe with just simply your mat in today's practice and how your body moves. With everything going on in the world right now, many of us aren't able to connect with others in the way that we normally would. Or maybe even with ourselves. We're busy trying to wear a lot of hats and get a lot of things done. And that's leaving us with less time for ourselves. So I'd ask you to think about how you can focus on the connection during today's practice. Maybe think about some of the connections you'd like to have more of. As we start to settle into our body, notice how you're feeling. If you're holding tension anywhere, if you have any niggles or anything that feels a bit off. Maybe noticing your mind. Is it racing? Are you thinking about all the other things that you need to be doing today? Try and bring your focus back to your breath if you find it drifting. A few more breaths here. Maybe give your jaw a wiggle if you're holding any tension there. Whatever shape you're in, let's slowly start to roll onto our side. Coming very slowly into a seated position. Maybe cross-legged or on your knees if that's more comfortable for you. And we're going to begin with a couple neck rolls. Actually, let's do a couple deep breaths while we're here. So let's take an inhale. And then together, exhale. One more inhale. And again, exhale. Let's drop your right ear to your right shoulder. Gently roll your head forward, letting your chin tuck in towards your chest. Your left ear meets your left shoulder, holding here for a moment. And then let's switch sides, letting that chin drop, rolling out to the other side. And again, rolling that left ear to the left shoulder, dropping that chin, rolling the neck, right ear to right shoulder. Come back to neutral. And then we're going to inhale our arms up and overhead. And then exhale, we're going to come into a twist, bringing the left hand to the right knee, right hand behind us. Inhale, sitting nice and tall. Exhale, slowly looking out over that right shoulder. Inhale again, nice and tall. Exhale, right hand to left knee, looking out over that left shoulder. Again, inhale, nice and tall. Exhale, left hand to right knee, right hand behind us. Inhale, sitting nice and tall. Exhale, see if you can look over that shoulder, twisting just a little bit more. As you twist, you might use that left hand on the right thigh, creating a bit of leverage. Just make sure that you're always moving in a place that's comfortable for your body. Inhale again, overhead. Exhale, twist to the left side. Inhale, nice and tall. Exhale, we're looking out over that left shoulder. Inhale again, coming back to center, nice and tall. Exhale, hands come down to the mat either side of you. Now we're going to come into a tabletop position. So let's roll on over to our hands and knees. Knees are below thigh or hips, sorry. Wrists are below shoulders as much as we can. Let's start in a neutral tabletop pose. So your core is slightly engaged, flat back. Tops of the feet are pressing into the mat. We're going to do some gentle cat and cows here. So let's inhale, drop the belly, lift the tailbone, lift our chest. Maybe lifting your gaze and your chin without straining. Exhale, pushing into the mat. Let's curve that spine, tuck the chin. Inhale, lifting that chin, lifting the tailbone, belly is dropped. Exhale, push into the mat. Let's curve that spine. Inhale. Exhale, moving at your own pace with your breath. And you'll add in some extra wiggles. Moving those hips. Maybe looking out over your shoulder. Really moving in a way that you feel like your body needs today. We're going to inhale our right arm up towards the side, maybe lifting it a little bit further depending on how tight your shoulders are. And then we'll exhale, feed it out underneath that left arm. We'll start to walk the left arm forward as we go, coming up onto that right shoulder. When you're here, you may like to lift that left hand, bring it around to your lower back, or maybe reaching around and grabbing your right thigh, whatever's comfortable for your body. Whatever you feel you need today. Breathing over here. Connecting with your breath, noticing how you feel. Do you feel like you want to rush out of the pose? Try and be here. Feel that shoulder bone on your mat. We'll slowly start to come out of that pose, so untwisting your left arm if it's there, pushing into the mat, coming back to neutral tabletop. We'll inhale the left arm up towards the sky or the side, whichever way you're reaching. Left arm comes through underneath the right arm, walking those fingertips forward as you come up onto that left shoulder. And again, you might like to take that right hand, placing it on your lower back or around towards your left hip if that's possible for you. Try to just be here in this pose. A few more breaths. Let's unhook that right arm. Bring it around back overhead. Bring that left arm back. Coming to the neutral tabletop position. We're going to push back into downward facing dog. So let's tuck those toes, really spread those fingers wide, pushing into the mat, lifting the tailbone up towards the ceiling. Let's walk those feet out, bending your knees maybe one at a time, wiggling those hips. Maybe you'll give both knees a bend, pushing your chest or your belly into the tops of your thighs, and then go ahead and try and straighten those legs a little bit more. Maybe looking out at your left and your right shoulder, just shaking your head now. See if we can find some stillness in this pose. It's all right if your knees are bent. Don't want to strain those hamstrings too much. We're going to look forward between our hands. Let's step the right foot forward, the left to meet the right, and forward fold. We're going to hang out for a moment here in this forward fold. Let's place our right hand on the mat, in the middle of our feet in front of us. Bend those knees again so you're resting your belly on the tops of your thighs gently. Let's lift that left arm up towards the sky. Maybe following your arm with your gaze as you look out. Bringing that left hand down to the mat, switching sides. Left hand comes to the center. Right arm sweeps up high, following with your gaze. Maybe looking out to the side, if that's more comfortable for your neck. We don't ever want to strain our neck in these poses. Bringing your right hand back down towards the mat. Let's see if we can straighten those legs a little bit. Maybe keep a small bend. Pull forward. We're going to very slowly start to lift up. So very, very slowly. We won't bring our hands overhead. Once we're here, we'll bring our hands to our heart center. Take a moment here. We've been upside down for a few minutes. Inhale those arms, lifting them up overhead. We're going to grab a hold of the right wrist with your left fingers, stretching that nice and long, using your left fingers, pulling on your wrist, creating space in your right side, opening up those ribs. You may be able to lift your gaze towards the ceiling as well. Let's straighten back up, let go of that right wrist. Switching sides, grabbing hold of the left wrist with the right hand. Gentle stretch, reaching out towards that right side. Opening up those ribs as much as you feel comfortable with today. Let's come back to center. Bring those hands down towards our sides. Give everything a little bit of a wiggle. Maybe roll those shoulders back and down. Feeling your shoulder moving down your spine. One more time. Rolling those shoulders back See if you can open that chest a little bit more. Now we're going to start to flow. So let's inhale our arms up and overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, placing the hands on the mat. Stepping back to a high plank. From here, you can lower knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. Baby cobra or upward facing dog. Pushing back into downward facing dog. Looking forward between your hands, let's step that left foot forward, the right foot to meet the left, and forward fold. Inhale, rising up. Bring those hands up and overhead, palms together, then down your heart center. And again, inhale our arms up and overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, let's step back to high plank. Taking your vinyasa. Moving with your own breath. Inhale, looking forward between your hands. Let's step that right foot forward, the left to meet the right, forward fold. Inhale, rise up. Arms up and overhead, pressing palms together, and down through the center. Again, inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Let's get that heart going. Inhale, halfway lift, moving with your breath. Nice big exhale when you get to that downward facing dog. Looking forward between your hands, step your left foot forward, right to meet the left, forward fold. Inhale, rising up again. Bringing your hands down to your heart center. 2 more times. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, high plank. You can step or jump back. Looking forward between your hands, let's step that right foot forward. Left to meet the right, forward fold. Inhale, rise up, palms together, and down through your heart center. Last time. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Stepping back to a high plank. This time, instead of stepping forward, we're going to actually lower our knees to the mat. Let's come into a wide-legged child's pose. So knees as wide as the mat. Push those sit bones back towards your feet. Coming to a place of rest, resting your forehead on the mat if you can. Arms are spread nice and long in front of you, reaching forward. And then we're going to start to walk those hands out towards the left side. Let's keep that forehead down on the mat if we can. Then we'll walk over towards the right side. Arms nice and long. We're getting some space in those ribs again. Coming back towards the center. Let's tuck those tuck our toes. Lift that tailbone. Pushing back. Tailbone's in the sky. Looking forward between your hands, step your right foot forward, your left to meet your right. We're going to forward fold again. Rising up. Palms together. Pausing here. Noticing your breath and how you're feeling. Maybe closing your eyes. We're going to inhale, see if we can sit back into a chair pose. So let's lift our arms overhead, sitting back onto an imaginary ledge here. Lifting those toes if you can. That's a good way to know if you're sitting back as far as you need to be. Maybe look down for a moment and see if you can see those toes. From here, we're going to come back into a low lunge. So let's lift that right leg, shoot it back. Briefly into a high lunge, let's lower the right knee down to the mat, untuck those right toes. Maybe grabbing a hold of your hips if you need to. Squaring them off to the front of the mat. Really sinking in, opening up some space in that right hip flexor. Let's sweep those arms up and overhead, pulling the shoulders down, away from your ears. Breathing. Pull your knee connected to the mat, the bottom of your left foot, connected onto the mat. We're going to come into a gentle twist. So let's bring the right hand down to the inside of the left foot. Left hand comes up towards the ceiling. Try and keep that left knee straight if we can. This isn't a pose where we want to let that fall out to the side. Or sorry, not this side. Right, left hand up toward the ceiling. Nice and long, your gaze is up towards the side. Or up towards the ceiling if you can. And then we'll bring that left hand back down to the mat. Tuck those right toes. And we're going to step forward, forward fold. Inhale, rising up. Hands overhead and down to our heart center. Again, we're going to sit back into chair pose. Let's sweep those arms up and overhead. Sitting on an imaginary wedge. Toes are lifted off the mat, shoulders away from the ears. Breathing while you're here. Feeling that burn in the legs. You've got this. Coming to a low lunge on the left side. So let's shoot that left leg back. High lunge for a moment. Lower the left knee. Again, hands to the hips if you need to. Let's sink into this pose. Anytime we've got our arms reaching overhead, check your shoulders. Don't be straining our muscles there while lifting their way from the ears. Last breath here, let's take that left hand, place it on the inside of your right foot. Right hand sweep up and overhead to a place that's comfortable for you. Focusing on your breath. That connection with your body. Hand comes back down to the mat outside of that right foot. This time we're going to step back to a high plank. Take a vinyasa, or we can go straight to downward facing dog. Breathing here in downward facing dog. Let's inhale and lift that right leg up nice and long. Foot is stretched out. Reaching nice and long, see if you can lift it just a little bit higher, and then we'll lower it back onto the mat. Switching to the left side. Inhale that left leg up nice and long. Reaching with those left toes, pushing into the mat with your all 10 fingers. One more breath here. Let's bring that left foot down towards the mat. Looking forward between your hands, step your right foot forward, your left to meet your right. Forward fold, inhale, rising up slowly. Palms together, coming down your heart center. A few more chair poses, let's inhale. Sweep those arms up and overhead as we sit back again into chair. Breathing here. Arms are reaching out nice and long, potentially forward or slightly up, whatever's comfortable for your shoulders and your body. Coming back to a low lunge, let's step that right foot back. Lower that right knee down towards the mat and sink into that hip. This time over here, we're going to see about bending that right knee, lifting the foot up. And this may be your pose.
You may have your knee bent, your foot up. Your arms can either stay up overhead, or come down to your hips. If you do have your foot bent and you're able to, and reach your left arm around, maybe grabbing a hold of the top. Sorry, the top of the right foot while we're here. From here, you might be able to, again, reach your right arm up and overhead. Maybe we're smiling, embracing the discomfort of the pose as long as it's not painful. Breathing here. Let's very slowly release that right foot. Bringing your hands down to the mat, we're going to step forward, so tuck those right toes, push off, coming into a forward fold. Inhale, slowly rising up. Pressing those palms together and down our center line. Let's take a moment here, maybe give those hips a wiggle. Coming into chair pose again. Inhale those arms, sweep them overhead, sitting back into our chair. Two more breaths here. See if you can sit just a little bit deeper. Great job. Let's push that left foot back, coming into a low lunge on the left side. Top of that left foot is in the mat. Sweeping those arms up and overhead. And then let's go ahead and bend that left foot. Sorry, for a second there, I thought we'd already done this side. Bending that left foot. Just sweep the right arm around and see if you can grab a hold of the top of your right foot. Like me, you may be able to reach one side and not the other. Really sinking into the pose if you've got a hold of that foot. Finding a focal point, helping your balance here. Nice deep extra stretch for these hip flexors. We always talk about how the hips are a place where we hold our emotions. I like to have some sort of openers in all of my classes. Let's bring those hands either side of your right foot, stepping back to a high plank. From here, you can head straight to downward facing dog or take a vinyasa. Let's look forward between our hands. Step that left foot forward, your right to meet your left, forward fold. From here, instead of rising up, let's place our hands on the mat. We're going to walk our feet wider than the mat. Open them on a 45-degree angle, so they're pointing out to the side. Hands are down on the mat. Let's see if we can walk our hands back just a little bit. You may want to point your fingertips towards the back of your mat, helping you walk just a little bit further. You may like to walk your feet a little bit further, so heel toe out. Some of you may be able to bring the top of your head down to the mat as you fold deeper here in this pose. Put the mat under your fingertips. Connecting with our mat is always a good thing. I know for me, let's heel toe our feet back together. There's times where I've drifted away from my yoga practice over the years and always coming back to the mat. Just feeling my toes here, my hands on the mat has been a place of comfort. Very slowly, we're going to rise up. This time, we won't bring our hands overhead. Don't want to get ourselves too lightheaded. Gently, we'll bring our hands to our heart center. Taking a moment here to center ourselves. We're going to push off to Dekasana. Let's take that right foot. Shoot it back behind us. Arms reach out long behind us. Fingertips are spread wide. Finding a focal point, a drishti, something 3 or 4 feet in front of you if you've got that amount of space that you can focus on that's not moving, not wobbling. Breathing here. Maybe you can lift that leg a little bit higher. Really reaching with those fingertips. We're going to come back into a high lunge. So let's bring those right toes back down towards the mat. Getting our balance, we'll sweep our arms up and overhead. Shoulders away from the ears. Maybe smiling here. Really pushing into the mat with those right toes. That right leg is engaged, nice and strong. Let's bring our hands down into prayer. We're going to come into a twist. So hands are into your prayer, heart center. We're going to start to twist with our spine. This may be your position for today. You may be able to hook your right elbow onto your left knee to help deepen that twist, finding your balance. Here, some of you may even like to open that right hand, bringing the left hand up towards the sky. The legs are strong, supporting you. 2 more breaths here. If you've opened your arms, let's bring them back to center. Slowly start to untwist. From here, you're going to push off into warrior 3. So let's push off those back left toes. Your right leg can do it. We're almost there. Hips are squared down to the mat. Check using your hands if you need to. Arms are spread wide. Imagine that back foot's pressing into an imaginary wall, foot's flexed. Let's bring it to standing. Well done. Give everything a shape. Coming back to center, we'll switch sides. So we're going to push off to Dekasana. So really gripping into the mat with that right foot. Left foot shoots off towards the sky. Both hands come reaching towards the back, fingertips spread wide. Hips are square. Shoulders are pulling away from the ears. Foot's flexed. The imaginary wall behind us. Coming back to your breath. See if you can make those inhale and exhales the same length. Maybe counting to 2 or 3 as we go. Coming back to high plank, let's lower that left foot. Rising up, arms reaching nice and long overhead, shoulders away from the ears. You've got this. Coming into a twist, let's bring our hands to our heart center. Start to twist with that lower spine. Maybe hooking the left elbow on the right knee. When you've got your balance, you may even open your arms. That left leg is engaged, really pushing into the mat. That helps us with our balance here. Two more breaths here. Bring your hands back together if they were apart. Let's come back to center. We're going to push off to warrior 3. You've got this. That right leg can do it. Left foot is flexed. Find your focal point. Don't look at me. My balance is all off today. Let's step that left foot down this time towards the back. We're going to come into a high plank. Step that right foot back. We're going to hold here in high plank. So your core is engaged. You're up on your tippy toes. Let's push back to downward facing dog. Maybe walking those legs out a little bit here. Our hips, hamstrings are a little bit more open probably than we started our practice today. And we're going to shift our weight forward to high plank again. So we're on our tippy toes, high plank, arms are strong, pushing into the mat. Keep that core engaged. Again, pushing back to downward facing dog. One more breath here. Last time, let's push forward again, rolling over those toes to high plank. So we're on our tippy toes, pushing into the mat. Core is engaged. 2 more breaths here. You've got this. Back to downward facing dog. And then let's lower those knees down to the mat again, coming into child's pose. Let's keep the knees together this time. Push those sit bones back to the feet. And then bringing your forehead down to the mat if you can. Maybe you can create a stack with your hands, a place for your forehead to find the connection with the ground. You may even like to sweep your hands around to the side, almost as though you are hugging yourself. If you can slow that breath. Bring your hands back out in front of us. Moving nice and slowly. Spreading those fingertips wide. Pushing into the mat. So let's tuck the toes and lift the tailbone. Coming back to downward facing dog. Looking forward between your hands. Step your right foot forward, your left to meet your right. Forward fold. Inhale, rising up. Again, we won't bring the hands overhead this time. Coming to standing. From here, we're going to come into Bakasana again. Balancing on that right foot. Let's shoot that left foot out behind us. Foot is flexed, pushing into an imaginary wall. Fingertips spread wide. Reaching with your foot and your hands. 2 more breaths. Lowering to a high lunge. Lower those left toes. Arms overhead. Shoulders away from the ears. This time, no twist. We're coming into warrior 3. So let's shift our weight forward. Arms out towards the side, hips are square. Back again with that flexed foot in the imaginary wall. This time, let's see if we can open to half moon. So that right hand's going to come down to the mat. Left arm coming towards the ceiling. Foot's flexed. Opening ourselves to that left side. Now from here, we're going to bend that left knee. Let's see if you can reach back with that left hand and grab a hold of the top of that left foot. It's okay if you fall out of this pose, if you need to start over, come back to it. It's all about finding the right balance for yourself for today. If you've got a hold of that foot, you may be able to push into the top of that foot with your thigh, creating some space, opening that hip just a little bit more. We'll lower that left foot back down towards the mat and forward fold. Let's walk our feet out here. So bending one knee at a time in this forward fold. Slowly rising up. Bringing our hands to our heart center. Give them a wiggle again, these legs. Switching sides. Really gripping in with your left toes here. Let's shoot that right leg out. Arms coming behind us, Bakasana. Two more breaths here, you got this. High lunge, lowering those right toes, sweep those arms overhead. Hips are squared towards the front of the mat. Let's start to shift forward to warrior three, shifting that weight all the way onto that left foot. Right leg comes up, arms are out towards the sides. Back foot is flexed. One more breath here, and we're going to shift into half moon on the left, on this side. So left hand comes down towards the mat. Start to open those hips. Back foot is still flexed. Right hand towards the ceiling. Lifting your gaze if you can. And then let's go ahead and bend that right knee. Maybe grabbing a hold of the top of the foot with your right hand. And if you can, pushing into that hand. If not, keep that hand bent, the knee bent, sorry. Let's place our hand on our lower back. 2 more breaths here. You've got this. Exhale, right foot down to the mat, forward fold. Let's walk those legs out again. Bending one at a time. Slowly rising up. Bring our hands to our heart center. 1 breath here. Then we'll inhale our arms up and overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step back to high plank. We'll take our last vinyasa for today. You've got this. Looking forward between your hands, step the right foot forward, the left to meet the right, forward fold, rising up slowly. Hands can come overhead or just bring them to our heart center. From here, we're going to come into tree pose, another balancing pose. I'll just face the camera for this one. So really gripping into your left foot, take the right leg. Bottom of the sole can go to your inner calf, or you can bring it to your inner thigh. Once here, keeping your hands on your hips if you'd like, maybe bringing them into prayer pose, or if you'd like, let's spread them out overhead, like tree branches. Finding your focal point again, really gripping with those left toes. Feel the connection of the bottom of your right foot on your right thigh. When you're ready, we'll slowly release that right leg, bringing it back down to the mat. Again, giving those legs a shake. We'll switch sides, really gripping in with those right toes. Pick that left leg up in your inner calf or inner thigh. Again, feeling the connection of those right toes into the mat. The left foot pushing into the right thigh. And then bring your hands wherever you'd like. Maybe it's somewhere different than last time. Maybe you're able to soften your gaze. Connecting to your breath as it slows. It's okay if we're wobbling or if we fall out of this. Balancing poses are a bit like life. Sometimes we have to pick ourselves up and start again. Let's go ahead. Release that left foot, bringing it back down to the mat. Again, giving those legs a shake. We're going to come into a downward facing dog. So let's inhale our arms up and overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Stepping back to a high plank. Pushing straight to downward facing dog. From here, we're going to inhale that right leg up nice and long. Opening up that hip, looking out under your right arm, sorry. And let's lower that right leg back down towards the mat. Inhale that left leg nice and long, bending the knee, opening that hip, looking out under your left arm. Straightening back out nice and long with that left foot, lowering that left foot back down to the mat. Then let's lower the knees. Ready to come back into a seated pose. So coming back, and we'll roll down onto our side, straightening our legs out in front of us. So let's open that right leg out towards the side. Left sole comes to the inner thigh. You can, a bit like tree pose, again, feeling the connection with our feet. Sitting nice and tall. From here, we're gonna be reaching out towards our right toes. So let's inhale, sitting taller and taller if we can. Exhale, we're gonna start to slowly twist so that we're facing out over that right leg. And folding forward. Maybe walking with your hands out over that right leg. It's fine if you're just slightly twisted, looking out at your right toes. You may like to deepen the stretch. Your inhale, find length in that spine, and exhale, see if you can twist a little bit further as you deepen this pose. A few more breaths here. See if you can maybe go a little bit deeper while still keeping that left hip down onto the mat. Let's slowly start to rise up, walking your hands in. That right leg, folding it over across the left one. Right foot, sole of your right foot is down on the mat. Inhale, sitting nice and tall. Let's lift that left arm up. Exhale, left arm comes down, elbow on the inside of that right thigh. You may just sit here looking out towards the side. You may like to inhale, find a little bit of length. Then exhale, twist just a little bit more, looking out over your right shoulder. Sitting nice and tall still. Exhale, we'll slowly start to release. Coming back to center, unhooking those legs, switching sides. So the left leg out towards the side, insole of the right foot on your inner thigh. Again, we're sitting nice and tall. The inhale and the exhale, we're slowly starting to twist as we fold out over that left leg. Moving deeper into the pose if you can with each breath. As we're here, maybe thinking again about connections. Maybe our connections in the outside world. Maybe there's someone that we'd like to connect with today that we haven't spoken to in a while. And slowly start to rise up. Let's switch. Crossing that left leg, out over the right. Left knee is bent, sitting nice and tall. Inhale and find length. Exhale, left elbow, left hand comes to the right hand and right elbow comes to the left knee. I'm all switched around today. Inhale, finding length. Looking out to the side or possibly on the exhale, twisting a little bit, looking out over your left shoulder. Breathing here. Last breath will slowly start to unwind, coming back to center. Let's stick those legs out in front of us, give them a little bit of a wiggle. And then we're going to come down onto our spines. Keeping the knees bent, soles of the feet are touching the mat. Let's walk those feet back in. Arms are reaching out towards your sides, palms pressing into the mat. See if you can walk those heels into about your fingertips. We're going to come up to bridge pose. This is usually a good spot for most people. You might need to walk them up just a little bit from here. In the inhale, we're going to start to lift our hips up. Imagine that you've got a block between your thighs that you'd like to keep there. Slowly lifting, do traction your thighs out towards your toes. Maybe coming up onto your shoulders here. Making sure that you're not pinching your neck if you are. 2 more breaths, see if you can lift those hips just a little bit higher. And we'll slowly start to come back down. Let's let those knees fall side to side like windshield wiper blades. Gently massaging our spine in the mat. Coming back to center, one more time, we'll lift into bridge pose, or if wheel is in your practice and you'd like to go there, please go ahead. Your bridge, you can work with me. Inhale, slowly lifting those hips. Walking up onto your shoulders if you'd like. Again, fingers are interlaced beneath you. Don't forget our imaginary block. Glutes are engaged. We're breathing here, coming out of wheel at your own pace. Last breath for bridge pose. Let's come off those shoulders if you're there, and then one vertebrae at a time, very slowly, coming back down towards the mat. From here, we'll bring our legs in. Give them a nice hug, maybe rocking side to side. Let's release the knees, letting them drop out towards the right side, stacked on top of each other. Arms spread out towards the side if you can. And then we'll look out over the left shoulder, left arm towards our left fingertips. Maybe you'd like to close your eyes here. We'll slowly start to untwist, bring your legs back to center. Give them one more nice big hug, let them fall out to the left side. Knees stacked on top of each other. Arms still out towards the sides, reaching if you've got space. We're looking out over our right shoulder, a gentle spinal twist. Bring your legs back to center. One last big hug. Nice and tight. Let's shoot them out nice and long for Shavasana. So feet are probably about mat width apart. Let those toes fall out towards the side. Palms are facing up. Take a nice big inhale. And then exhale with your mouth open. Releasing anything we've got left inside. Relaxing your body, just letting it melt into the mat. Maybe give your jaw a wiggle. See if it's relaxed. Check that you're not holding any tension in your forehead. Just being here.
And slowly start to deepen your breath. Maybe wiggle your toes and your fingers. Maybe you'd like a nice big stretch overhead. And then when you're ready, you can roll onto your right side. Slowly pushing yourself into a seated pose. Maybe keeping your eyes closed if you'd like, or a soft gaze. Pressing your palms together at your heart center. Thanking yourself for making time to practice and do something for yourself today. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.